There we go, officially starting. Welcome to Where the Rubber Meets the Road for September 16th, 2024. Our dear friend Cindy is traveling on the highway back from a family event this weekend, so she will not be joining us today, but I have the pleasure of sitting in, and as I was saying to David and Sandra before we were starting, I really trust that between all of us, we can fill this hour together, and, it's just going to be great. Last week, we talked about placing the future in God's hands. And so this week, as we put on our, thinking caps, trying to rustle memory, right? Because we're staying in the now. But what I'm going to ask you to point to is any examples that you've had this week of placing the future in God's hands and what occurred for you. And I've got a couple of examples too. So I have a song. This song has been haunting me for a few weeks, and finally this weekend it became clear, just play it for Rubber Meets the Road. And I shared it with a couple people, and they reminded me what a great driving song it is. But I've got the song with lyrics, and so I'm going to pause record. Thank goodness I remembered that. That song, when I saw the lyrics pop up and it said, the body means nothing. Your body means nothing. I mean, it's just so fascinating to me these days, listening to these songs from this focus and the truth point of view, and to hear how it's just been in all the things that I've been listening to for decades, but I didn't have ears to hear it. And so I would like to express my gratitude, to the universe to have ears to hear today and to be with you. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about, my examples. Cindy reminded me, we were talking this weekend, and I said, I'm just going to leave Monday in God's hands. And she said, well, that's good, because that's what we're doing this week. Remember, I asked for examples, people to live this truth. I place the future in God's hands. So it kind of made me giggle. And then I just thought, isn't that perfect, is to just open up the room today and provide a couple of examples of the future that has been left in God's hands. And so we can see ultimately that all's required is willingness and trust, because it always happens for us, So that was my first example, right? Saturday, Sunday, I was feeling a little nervous, as I do when I get the opportunity to lead our gathering. And, that part of me comes out that thinks I'm doing it, and that I need to show up in a certain way, and I need to bring a topic. So that was dropped immediately after that conversation with Cindy. And so that's the first example. I just sat back and I said, I place the future in God's hands. I'm just not going to worry about this. And then the second example came right to me. I had a wonderful opportunity this weekend to spend time at a picnic with about 100 of my friends in person. And it came off without a hitch. I was able to suit up and show up and be authentic me, to allow consciousness to express as Rana, with her goofiness and her delegation and all the things. I just allowed. There was no judgment for that 5 hours I was in that venue. And there was a real watching. And I had used the opportunity many times last week as the details were being finalized and the list was looking, making the list from the list. And I just kept placing the future in God's hands, trusting. Absolutely. This is not the first time we've put on a little party. If somebody forgets the napkins, it's no big deal, right? The things that I used to think, you got to cross the T's and dot the I's. And if you don't, oh, that's it, right? Throw the baby out with the bathwater. Well, I only had one pack of napkins and somebody else brought a roll of paper towels. And so therefore, there was plenty of paper to go around. It was great. I thought of it afterwards. What'd you learn? All you need is 2 packs of napkins, not 6 like you thought were in the box, right? Must have messed up when I ordered on Amazon. No judgment there either. It was extraordinary, rubbing elbows with people that I spend a lot of time on Zoom with in gatherings in another venue. And to see the shapes and the sizes and the colors and the forms and the personalities and the characters. And I was able to really enjoy it from a place of seeing. Instead of getting bogged down in the scrutiny of the details, in a worry, there were hands there the entire day. What can I do? And then when something came up, I would, instead of doing it myself, I'd say, hey, you were looking for something to do. Can you do this? Totally different. Totally different. And so things were noticed and let go. I'm not saying I didn't have any judgment because I'm still human. But there's no attack on myself for having it now. It's in the noticing of, why was that just thought? And that clear seeing that thoughts are not mine. There's a lot of threads of thoughts. And especially when you're together with 100 people, if we talk about that there's one mind, I might be picking up all kinds of vibration. So I just kept blessing the crowd. Just kept blessing the crowd. I had the opportunity yesterday to be in the sanctuary at Awakening Together, and Rhoda Macklid, Reverend Rhoda, did a beautiful homily. And one of the pointings that she made that was in regards to this talk I wanted to give this morning is trust there isn't a me that needs to handle anything. If I, little I, place the future in God's hands, there is no me that needs to worry. There is no me that is doing this. It's all just appearing and happening. It happens. The intention was set. The desire to have a gathering was met. Help was asked, and it happened. And what was beautiful is it wasn't just one being. It was the cooperation of 100 beings. And so there was a real seeing of the happening of the day. And that's what Rhoda's pointing led to. If I think that there's a me, I'm focused on the wrong thing. I'm scrutinizing. I'm taking on perhaps jobs that don't need to be of this one's concern. There was also a pointing yesterday that was said the unlimited self has the capacity to handle anything. And that remains unaffected. And so I felt that there was sort of this just like beautiful flow on Saturday. of focusing on a me and then widening out and focusing on the whole snapshot of what was going on. There was really just one thing going on. There was lots of love and appreciation. The future is an imaginary concept, right? And eventually something may appear, but it too is temporary. It comes and it goes. No matter how much effort and planning and blah, 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 the party is done now. And there's no sense in having a postmortem about anything that didn't go well. Because the truth is that's just a label and a judgment. And I truly feel all went well, you know. So the last thing that I would like to point to before we take Andrew is from last Thursday when we listened to Bob Harwood. Now I know he had the ATA minus T, or you know what I mean? That didn't stick so much for me. What stuck for me was look and listen. And that's what I found myself doing at that party and all weekend long. There just kept, this prompt kept arising. Look, listen. I heard some of the most extraordinary birds in my own backyard that I did not know were there. And that is just one example of just the willingness to take that moment to look and listen. So with that, I am extremely grateful to be here today, and I'm looking forward to what you all have to share, and hopefully won't have to tap dance too much. Andrew, please.
Thank you. That was a great share that you had, and the song that you played, I wasn't familiar with, but it's a perfect link to what I was thinking about for maybe 2 days now. And in the song, there's a line that says, "The body means nothing." And what I was thinking about is that the body needs life to exist, but life does not need a body to exist. And it even ties into your gathering, because there were 100 bodies there, but it could have been just one life taking many identities. So, you know, everything flows from God. God is the source of all life. We all depend on that one life. So that's my only comment. I'm just grateful to be here, grateful to share and see you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. For sure. Life doesn't need a body. It's great. Who's next this morning? This afternoon, this evening, depending on where you are and when you're listening to this, of course.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Alice, hello.
Yeah, hello. This is afternoon here. Thank you so much for your share. That was wonderful. It was just what I needed. And I am struggling so much with the thing that you're talking about. What you did, you just left the whole party to God and you trusted. And this morning, my meditation was to remember God's promise to us. And I am struggling and struggling. I'm still on I am willing to be willing to listen to God. That is where I am. So I am so grateful for what you shared today. It was just what I needed to hear. Thank you, Ronna.
Thank you. And I'm so grateful that you've joined us today. I, I'm willing to be willing is a huge stride, and sometimes this is just for me, I have to accept that that's where I'm at. Like nothing's going to change for me until I just accept the absolute truth. And today I find it's okay to say, I'm not ready, I'm not willing, or this is what strikes me, Alice, is God help me with my unbelief. That has been a powerful prayer for me, because it sort of points to the idea that I feel like I'm experiencing doubt. But
Yeah.
that's just the small S self, right? What we truly are has no doubt. I see that smile.
Well, you're just saying exactly what I'm really working on and struggling with. And especially also you mentioned the party, because I'm the only grandmother in the extended family left. And so many of the big gatherings, family gatherings, they are at my place. And I am always totally, I am so used and exhausted and I can't enjoy the party. I'm doing everything contrary to what you said. And I wrote down every bit of it because he was like, you get a recipe. I got the recipe for when Christmas comes up. Thank you, Rana.
Oh, thank you. I can't wait to hear. Fantastic.
And thank you for the music also.
Sure. Yeah, that's song is Hypnotized by Fleetwood Mac. And Cindy has added it to the playlist, which you can find on the Open Door website.
Thank you.
Thank you. Libby, hello.
Hi, and good morning. Good morning, everybody. Really grateful to be here with y'all this morning from South Carolina. Whoop, whoop. Um, no, I love music, and I'm one of those people that for a long time, for me, the words or the lyrics or the singer was just another instrument, and I didn't really ever pay attention to the words except the chorus, you got me hypnotized, but that's all I ever really hung on to. And this morning to read the lyrics to that, and it's like you said that this stuff has been in songs, especially like Moody Blues stuff. It's amazing how much the oneness has been expressed itself in so many ways through music for decades. And I'm just now becoming attuned to that or aware of that, which is really awesome. And, I was, I'm just going to go ahead and share. I was fortunate enough, and I don't use this word lightly, but I was blessed enough to be there at the party that Ron is referring to on Saturday. And the joy and the lightness and the light that she brought to that was, and to be like the one in charge and stuff, the light and the joy that she brought and everything that she did that day was really, really beautiful to see and to recognize. And I, was able to recognize that because I've been at previous parties. And it's just been wonderful to see the change and how that really set the mood for the day. I can't remember being with these people where everybody was just so light and joyful and sharing and dancing and everything was spontaneous. We didn't have to plan anything because it just happened, even though some things, were kind of listed to be planned. It was just the allowing it to be, which was what she brought to it. And it was just beautiful to see that with that many people. And, just to my own reflection on some of that is just I've always been like the rescuer for my family. And I very willingly took that role on. And, you know, it was just important that everybody listened to how I think it should be done, because if you did that, your life would be so much easier. And I'm grateful today that I recognize that not only is everything working for me, it's also working for those that I love. And I can turn them over today. I don't have to jump in because I don't know what anything is for. And it's not for me to judge it as good or bad. And it's not for me to judge and jump in and go, do you not see what you're doing is totally insane? Because I don't know that it is, you know, and it's allowing them, you know, like I have the power to do that. But in my mind and in my heart, it's really detaching with love and allowing them to have their experience instead of wanting to cut open the cocoon and let the butterfly out before it's had a chance to even meld its wings to be able to get out and break out. And so I'm so incredibly grateful today that I don't have to do that anymore, and I can let everybody have their experience. And it doesn't mean that it's not hard to watch, and it doesn't mean that it doesn't break my heart, and it doesn't mean I don't cry, because I'm a human and I'm going to do that. And that's just one of the biggest gifts I can give anybody else, is to have their experience, and without me judging it. And, you know, one thing that's come up for me recently is how much my judgments are followed by justification, you know, and those two go hand in hand, I'm realizing. And so I'm just really great. I have a woman that I love, and Rana knows what I'm talking about, who says, you know, it tells better than it lives. And I'm just really grateful for the awareness today, and then allowing the action to be worked through me instead of being the one to judge what action should be taken. So I'm just really glad to be here with y'all this morning. And thank you so much, Rana, for taking over the lead this morning and for the great song. All right. I love all y'all.
Thank you, Livy. We love you too. Livy works like a busy bee. Don't let her fool you. She was crazy behind the scenes. She was like the extra set of hands. It was perfect. Thank you, Livy, so much for being there. Sandra, hello.
Hello. Hi, everybody. Thank you, Rona, and thanks to everyone who has spoken. It always touches my heart. I'll try to explain this. There's been like this evolution of response to this particular lesson. I placed the future in God's hand. At first, I mean, I still am to some extent a planner. I like to plan out every detail. I want everything to be perfect. It's a holiday. I want it to come off like a Hallmark commercial. You know, I wanted everybody happy and do everything I can to get just the right things done. Or a vacation. I just had a vacation. And I planned all the details for everybody. And so there was a time when I thought that would make everything right, pretty close to the way I wanted it to be. And then over and over and again, I would get evidence that that I was completely powerless over people, places, and things. I had no power, but I still kept trying. Next time. So as I learned that I had no control, I learned to let go and let God. That was like the next phase. Put it in God's hands. And that caused some relief, although I have to admit I didn't totally trust that, because my prayers would go out and I'd say, God, you've got this. And still there was suffering over things that were happening. But more and more, I place the future in God's hands, place the present in God's hands, even place the past in God's hands. All of it that was in my head. But what I wanted to talk about was the next evolution. which is a little more difficult to describe. The next evolution of that was I'm waking up and I'm learning that I am a divine being. I am God, or I am awareness, or I am the absolute. And more I'm recognizing this. So now it's not like I'm placing the future in some external being's hands anymore. It's recognizing that how I think and believe, and when I remember who I am, who I truly am, and I get the qualitative benefit of that, which is joy and peace, then I bring that to every interaction. I bring that to every, I walk with it. I'm not, I'm in it. I went from I'm powerless to, oh my gosh, I'm completely powerful. And I'm powerful in a way that carries responsibility with it. And how I experience the vacation not only impacts me, it impacts everyone around me. When I walk into a party or a family gathering, that who I am in that moment if I'm the little self wanting things to be a certain way, that impacts everyone. But if I'm not that anymore, if I remember, I don't always remember. I wish I did. But when I remember, it's like miracles happen all over the place. Everybody is happier. Everybody seems to get along better. I say things that come from a source that's beyond the temporary, finite little self that I always thought I was. I don't know if this is making sense to anyone, but it's awesome, and it's a little scary too, because the good news is I catch myself a whole lot now, because now my experience is different. My experience isn't that I don't have any power, please take care of me. It's, wow, thank you. I get to be what I've always wanted to be without knowing that I wanted to be it. I get to be love. That's all it takes. It doesn't matter what trip we go on, how many details there are, how many excursions I planned. If I am just love, I'm good. And for the most part, it emanates. I'm not saying that everybody else is all of a sudden a certain way. It doesn't really matter if they're a certain way. That's what's so amazing. And I can have, if they're wrapped up in their own sense of being a limited identity, I can just have compassion and love and be gentle and kind. And boy, are people responsive to that. I started out thinking, I don't know how to say this, so I said it the best I could. Thanks for listening.
Beautiful.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you. That was well articulated. And I was with you the whole time. And it is exciting to discover the truth of what I am. You know, I feel the rush right now, Sandra. You know, it is exciting and it is a little bit scary. What I was thinking about is the pointing that Amy is having us look at, right? From her training wheels. Nothing I see means anything. It's like, oh, right? But I am it. I'm being taken care of. I love the pointing that it's no longer placing the future in some external thing's hands, right? Because all of that is imagination. That's the hypnotism, is that I have to place something in somebody, some other thing's hands. It's like all there is I. There's just is. I totally get it. I think you and I are getting the same thing going. I'm hoping other people are getting that too. It doesn't matter really, though. That's the other thing you said. If I bring the light that I am, it doesn't mean everybody else is going to be all lit up and happy and have a good time and a good life and be grateful. But the responsibility for others to have that has been removed, right? And then the noticing and allowing for any other being to express the way they want to. You know, my biggest teacher is my mom, who lives with me. You know, there are just some times where I'm just like, gosh, can't you be grateful? But that's the little limited me. You know, she is me. She is the expression of what I am in form and part of it. You know, so that bringing that compassion in and understanding, that's the key. That's the beingness. That's the love. You know, those are all a bunch of other words for just loving it all as it is. Thank you, my friend. So beautiful. Let's see what David's got for us today.
But first of all, Sandra, when you said, I just don't know how I'm going to say this, what an advantage that is, because then you're open to what God's going to tell you to say. So, I mean, so anyway, couple things. I was at my AA meeting this morning, and it was so interesting. I didn't have anything to say, but then it went down to a couple of people, and then I said, hold up my hands, and I want to reclaim my time. And so I was talking about a shortcoming that I perceived about myself, and in the group that I was, you know, the circle that I was part of, a rectangle. But anyway, it was like all these folks were like the oneness. It was just a piece of the oneness that I was experiencing just today, and it's all the same. I know there's a word for it, in each little section of the oneness is exactly the same as the entirety, and I can't come up with the word. It's not synchronicity, but there's a word that means the same thing. But anyway, and I said. And I told them that you'll just take all of my shortcomings and just take them in, and they'll just they will no longer exist, because if I'm part of this oneness, everybody is all the one. There's no nothing. There's no anything else. And so I know that I'm not phrasing that very well, but I hope you know what I mean. It's just like all the perceived shortcomings and things I don't measure up to, they don't even matter, because they don't exist. And so, but anyway, while I was listening to these wonderful things that were being said today, I wrote something down, so I want to read that, if that's okay. And it's not exactly the same, but the first line is I got from Stephen King, that he's a wonderful, talk about somebody who really, he's got to be a course guy. I mean, there's no way he can't be. Anyway, sometimes you think you have to pay up front, and for anything that you think you have to bear the brunt of what just happened. But you don't have to keep paying and paying. I'm just saying you can let it go and find that that you don't have to fall in the trap and keeping it in your mind, and you can just move on and just be free and and see, I'm really messing this up, and see what you can, and see what you really are and what you're going to be. I'll have to rewrite this thing, but it was just, what the gist of it was, you don't have to keep, if you make a mistake or think you're falling short or something, you don't have to keep paying and paying and paying. It's like paying interest on something, and it just keeps getting worse and worse until you let it go, and say, okay, I'm done with that. Let it go, and say that just happened, and just, okay, I'm going to move on from that now. I've forgiven myself, and nobody else blamed me anyway. And so, and just go on and be yourself, and let that bad mistaken perception go away, and just go on with your life. And I'm sorry it took up too much time, but I'm trying to get a point that it isn't coming through as clear as I want to, but I hope you know what I mean. Thank you.
I do know what you mean, and we love you, David, and we want you to take as much time as you want to, because we are so fortunate to have an in-house poet. And I mean, not everybody has one of those. So you just take as much time as you
Well,
want.
it's like the relative that comes to the house. When I come at the door, you have to let me in.
We love you so much.
Thank you.
I get what you're talking about, though, right? You started out with these shortcomings and things, for sure. For a long time, I was stuck in the guilt of what I've done as, the limited self. And what the course teaches is that we're innocent, and so there's been a lot of pausing in this one when guilt comes up, and just to sink back into that reminder of what I truly am. And I mean, if something needs to be done in the world in terms of things like that, I'm going to allow, oneness to guide what that is, instead of trying to fix these things myself in the world, so it was a great pointing.
Yeah, when I feel like I feel like I messed up, it's the opposite of the oneness. It's the aloneness, or I feel like I'm all by myself, and I'm judging myself and doing these things, and none of the things, they don't matter, because, like I say, they're the aloneness, they're not the oneness.
That's beautiful. Guilt is the great separator.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely separates and divides, and I end up all by myself. For sure. Thank you, David. I always love your shares.
I love you too.
And Dago, what do you have going on a Monday?
Hi everyone, so great to be here always. Actually I'm like all over the place, and actually Indigo doesn't like that. She wants to know what she's doing, and I'm like, I don't need to know. I don't need to know. God will show me exactly what to do when I need to do it. So I'm just letting go. I'm just letting go. And whatever comes, it will come. And it will come when it needs to come. So I love being here. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you for pointing to the I don't know, and that it's okay to not know. In fact, it's better not to know. That little planner, that's the limited self that does that. It's been such a freedom to start to kind of let go of the planning, like Sandra was pointing to, like you can make a plan, but you can plan the plan, but you don't plan the outcome of it. I think that's been the shift, is to, you make your little list or whatever, but to try to keep your expectations as low as possible. Because Dorothy's tornado might show up and your little party may never happen. You just don't know. You just don't know. As always, if you have anything on your heart that's going on, we don't have to cling to a topic here. Where's the rubber meeting the road for you today? Is there anything you'd like to share? Richard.
Hi, everybody. Happy Monday. I love the song. Great sharing as always. A number of things come to mind. I know when I started the course, I started turning over little things to the Holy Spirit, which was my way back then of giving my future to the Holy Spirit or to God. But I didn't do it all. It was little things I valued that were causing me to lose my peace of mind. So I said, well, I'll just give it to the Holy Spirit. So I've been doing that, like many of us have been doing that for a number of years, trying to refine my individual experience as a separate self, right? And so, because we all want to be happy. So we want the dream to be happy for us. And so at least that's been my experience. So I've been trying to turn the future over to the Holy Spirit of God by one thing at a time. I normally started with things I valued a little bit. And then I developed a trust, which, as you all know, is the first characteristic of the teacher of God. And I'm still working on trust because I started to turn over bigger things. And I would agonize about losing a friend or a privilege I had as a separate self or a relationship as a separate self. And but I realized the more I did this, the more peace I had, the more love I had in my life. And that led me to what Sandra was saying, to a point where just be the love. So if I'm the love every minute of every day, every moment, then I'll be happy, right? Well, not really. Most of the time it works really good, but and the last couple of years I have a relationship with someone where the relationship on the other end, not me, but has changed dramatically over the last 2 years. And this is a relationship I really value a lot. So I say that because this relationship has made me very happy in the past. And it's not so happy the last 2 years. So I had to deal with, why am I looking for the dream as something external to me to make me happy? Why am I not trusting in myself to be happy with what I am already and be the love that I am all the time? But I find myself slipping back into this separate self, thinking, why is the person doing this? Why are they changing? Why are we as happy as we used to be? And so it's helping me to develop my trust to a point where I'll be able to turn everything over to God and the future along with it, and not caring. And you mentioned Bob Howard, Harwood. I missed that meeting, unfortunately, but I watched the tape. And I remember a few years ago, I watched an interview with Tony Parsons. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Tony Parsons, but he's another liberated soul like Bob Harwood. And when I saw the interview, I thought, that's what I want to be. That's what I want to manifest in the dream, is a Tony Parsons kind. And I felt the same thing when I watched Bob Harwood. That's what I want to be. That's how I want to live. And obviously, both of them have experienced liberation, and I love the fact that Bob Harwood mentioned Brian Lulu's book, Awake, because we're reading that in another meeting. And as all of us, I do the best I can. I'm a work in progress. I'm trying to be the love that I am every minute of every day, but I keep falling back into this separate self. Woe is Richard comes up every once in a while. I have to laugh at myself when that happens, if I can, and rise above the battleground, as the Course says, reunite with my true self in stillness, and then bless everything I think is in the world. So I love you all with I'll pass.
Oh, Richard, thank you so much. Always so clear. Could really relate on the what you touched on about relationships. You know, it's funny because when I first started this particular work, I was convinced that there was a problem in one of my relationships. And what I realized is that I was the only one that thinking there was a problem. You know? And that was in my marriage, okay? But then I've had somebody in my life for a couple of decades, and there was like this period of readjustment that we had. And a very dear friend of mine kept reminding me to trust, and that the relationship was changing, not necessarily over. And I had to get real honest because there was something inside of me that was afraid it was over. You know, and that was sort of blocking the trust for me because this thought it knew something. And so what you're reminding me, Richard, thank you so much, is just that simple pointing. What am I thinking about right now? Like if I'm thinking about my husband, Dave, and I'm thinking there's a problem with something, like take a moment and investigate what is being thought, you know, and like the pointers that we're using these days, are those things true? Like, how do I know that's true? Like, why do I think he believes that? Have you asked him? You know, it's just so funny how the mind, like David was saying, always, I feel like I have a brain that's trying to kill me. It always wants to just make me separate and alone. You know, the story at the end is always Rana's like with her shopping cart under a bridge, all by herself with nowhere to live and nobody loves her. You know, it's just so crazy, the imagination. There's nothing that has ever come close to that. What I was reminded of when all of you guys were sharing is, you know, as part of this human condition seems to be the forgetting and the remembering. You know, it's like, we know the truth. When we're together, we're talking about this, we're living it. And then we're kind of going off into our thing. And then there's a forgetting. And maybe I get sucked in for a little bit. Maybe I'm listening to what's going on up here a little too long, right? Maybe I've sunk into awfulizing, you know? So there's the pointing, remember. And from what I hear from you all in this group, and I find it for myself as well, I'm remembering so much more often. I believe I was told at some point along the way is I can ask to remember. help me to remember. Maybe that's a pointing I can use in the morning, but it doesn't mean I'm wrong or bad or guilty if I'm not remembering. This is the not remembering is the fodder for when we get together and talk about remembering to remember. You know what? I don't know. The mind tells me that I'm shooting for some goal of perfection with no thinking and no emotion and no whatever. And I'm beginning to understand that is not the goal at all. The goal is to feel and experience the richness of all of it. Let's see what Sandra has to say.
Well, that was perfect. For me, it was perfect what you just said. And I've been questioning this in my self-inquiry, like, why do I slip back into the not remembering? I've been questioning that. And it came to me that it was a gift to not remember, that because all of life is a gift, really. And what happens when I don't remember and I'm in it, I get to see what that feels like. It's almost like I need to see what that feels like in order to know what else, that there's something else possible. So it came to me that it's a gift to not remember and then to remember. And so I just wanted to add that.
That was beautiful. Allow the not remembering,
Yes.
right?
And then when you remember, you feel, oh,
Right. Love the not remembering.
Oh.
Welcome the not remembering. Accept it all, right? Oh, geez, that was just perfect. Thank you.
Teaches me something.
Every time.
Yes.
All things are lessons God would have me learn, right? Ha! This stuff is starting to sink in. I love it. Well, we are close. We have filled our hour. Curious if anybody has any closing remarks, or if you didn't get a chance to say hello, you just want to claim your seat. David. Oh, you muted yourself, hon. There you go.
One thing, Sandra, you just say such wonderful things, but and so do you, Ron. But by not, didn't want to remember something because of who I was whenever that occurred, and then when I clear my head, when I clear the deck of who I am somewhat, when that comes back, I'm different, and I can look at whatever that is I didn't want to remember and remember it and embrace it, and it can make sense to me, and it can be part of me because I change so that when that comes back, it can work for me and I can work for whatever that is. It can all come back together again.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Anybody else want to say hello on the recording for posterity? Oh, well, I just want to thank you all. Oh, Audzi?
Hello.
Thank you, Audzi.
Posterity. Woo!
Thank you, my friend. Thank you all for joining me today for Rubber Meets the Road. There will be a recording put up on the website when Cindy gets back home if you want to listen again or point anybody out in this direction. Thank you, as always, for supporting An Open Door. And I'm just so grateful to have spent this hour with you. And we'll see you again tomorrow morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for our wonderful program, Training Wheels. So with that, I'm going to stop the recording.